three different buckets. So kind of the pre-planning, the research, and then actually going out and contacting sponsors. So the first stage covers identifying your missions, values, and goals, what you can offer as a club, and then putting together everything in the sponsorship package. The second stage is doing research, finding which companies to reach out to, and then managing your relationships using different resources online. And then the third bucket kind of covers contacting sponsors and then maintaining those relationships after you've already worked with them. Okay, so going into stage one. So we're going to start by identifying your missions, values, and goals. And the reason why we do this is to give potential sponsors a clear picture of what your organization does and then where it's going. So the mission is what you do every day to work towards achieving your vision. Your goals is the goals of your organization, where it's headed in the future, what you want to do with your club. And then the values, these are your core values where your organization prides itself in doing well. So some examples of these, to start off with a mission, this is Patagonia's mission. And it's to build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. So if you want, feel free to put, what your mission of your club is in the chat. I'm sure a lot of people would benefit by seeing some more examples. We can also discuss them if you're unsure what maybe your mission is. So yeah, put them in the chat and we can discuss them. I'll move on to values. So these are the values of Coca-Cola. So the first one is accountability. So if it's to be, then it's up to me. Their second value is diversity. So they want to be as inclusive as their brand. And then finally, quality. So what they do, they want to do well. And then moving on to goals, Microsoft's goal is to have a computer on every desk in every home. So again, if you want to put your club's values and goals in the chat, feel free, and we can discuss them at the end of this bucket. So moving on to what you can offer as a club. So this is where you can be super creative. So it's important to keep in mind that you have something that sponsors don't have, which is access to students. So you might think that it's you wanting something from the sponsors, but really it's a two-way partnership. They want something from you just as much as you want something from them. So types of things that you can offer in social media. So you can post for them. You can post stuff for them on your story. You can share their posts. So if on their Facebook page they're sharing information about an event, you can share that to your page. Story takeovers, so you can have an employee at an organization that's sponsoring you. They can take over your Instagram, per se. Talk about the company, what they do, what they're looking for. Basically, share any information that they want in regards to students. And if your organization has newsletters, then you can include a blurb about the company that's sponsoring you in your newsletters. In general, you could have development workshops, so maybe something similar to what I'm doing today, but have the company host. If you have a finance firm who's sponsoring you, maybe they could come in and do a workshop on investing for students. Gives them a chance to promote their company, answer questions for students, and it also allows them the opportunity to network with students. Other things include having their logo on your website, their logos on any of the posters that you make, discounts or deal cards. So what I mean by this is, say, you walk into FNS and you talk to the owner and say, hey, would you be willing to give students who have our card a 10% discount? And then you walk into Subway and same deal. So then you have a card with a bunch of different discounts that you could sell to students. So you'd be making money off of the sales of these cards, and the businesses would be gaining more customers because people be incentivized to go to these stores. And flyer handout. So this may not be as applicable now, but you could have people in your club stand on campus and hand out flyers for the company as well. And then considering events, a lot of these do apply to virtual events as well. So speaking opportunities, so having a company representative come and speak at an event that you're hosting, logo displays. So in an in-person event, this would maybe be banners or a projector with their logo on it. On a virtual event, it might be your waiting screen while you're waiting for people to enter a Zoom call might have information about the sponsor on it. Resume banks. So if you collect resumes from the people who are attending your event, you can distribute those to sponsors, and then you can also invite sponsors to your event as well. So if you're having a gala, then you could give the sponsor a table and allow them to network with students while they're there. So moving on, now we're going to put this together into a sponsorship package. So sponsorship package contains everything we talked about missions, values, and goals, your purpose as a club, and then combine that with what you can offer. So, potential sponsors know what they can buy into and why they should buy into it. So things to include who you are. So you can introduce yourself in your sponsorship package. So to make it more personal, I guess. So say, hi, in the package, I'm Lauren. I represent this club. This is my position. This is the president of the club. This is what we do. So who you are, who you represent, that would be the club. What you do for the club. Why they should sponsor your club. So that leads back into the mission, values, and goals. What you can offer, which is the opportunities that we just talked about, and then who to contact. So make sure that you have either a phone number, an email, LinkedIn, somewhere where they can go to contact you if they're interested. And there are different options when it comes to putting everything together in the sponsorship package. So it can be a completely informal package, kind of like maybe a roadmap, just saying here's the things we can offer, something put together quickly. Not dragging an informal package, just something that might be a little bit more custom. You can also have a package that lists all of your events, everything you offer, so a super detailed package. It's also up to you whether or not you want to include the price of what you're offering in your package. So sometimes people include price to standardize everything, but another option is to exclude price so that you could charge, say, bigger corporations more for the same package, but you would charge local, smaller businesses less for the same package, depending on the size of the company. The only real risk there is, say, if you were having an in-person event and two companies that you sold the same package to at different price points were there and talked to each other, that could be difficult. But with online events, that isn't really a risk. And then another off-the-cuff package, so completely tailored to what the company wants, kind of leaves out all the fluff and just gets down to the point based exactly on what the company is looking for. So here's an example of a sponsorship package that I put together last year. On the left, you can see on top here I have our mission. So that was to improve the academic, social, and professional development of Telfer students. And then I go into a little bit about what Telfer Student Council does, the purpose, expanding more on some of the events that we have. And then a little summary at the bottom about the exposure. So social media statistics, lets company know what they're buying into, what they could see from the money that they're putting into your club. And then on the right would be an example of how to break down an event. So this was for a specific event that we were hosting. It has the date, the location, around how many attendees we were expecting, the purpose of the event, and then goes down into what the sponsor could get in each package and the price. So I'll bring up some other examples of sponsorship packages. Okay, is everyone able to see the browser?
Yes.
Perfect. So starting with this one, so this is an example of one that is super visual, so you can see why sponsor us. It's a little bit more visual than what I had previously showed you. Who we are with a lot of pictures. This sponsorship package is super simple, goes into a little bit what they can offer, and then some general packages here. And then, yeah, so this one's pretty simple. This one is a little bit more detailed, but just as visual as the last one. So a lot of pictures, a lot of graphics. These are all the events that they have. What's in it for you, making sure that you put emphasis on what the sponsor would be getting out of the partnership. And then something you haven't seen yet is this table here. So this is kind of a more visual way to represent the packages. When something's laid out like this, the sponsor can clearly see, that they're getting more for diamond than they would for silver. So that's another option. So when I send the PowerPoint slide, you can click on the link to access this drive. This was a package that I had made last year for a single event. So we were looking for sponsors to specifically sponsor one event. And so we would send out this package. So it has all the general stuff from our main sponsorship package up here. But it was shorter in terms of, only highlighting the one event. And then it's also important to have some terminology as well, because logo display can be pretty vague. So explaining exactly what that entails goes a long way for a sponsor. Another example is this one. So this is more similar to the ones that I've shown you. So partnership opportunities, you could be a sponsor or a donor, why partner with us, about the organization, introducing the team, and then list of events, no prices, no packages, something more simple. It's a good starter point for a conversation if you wanted to make something a little bit more custom for each company. And then the last example I have is this one. This one is not visual at all. It's very wordy. Not dragging it. It's just another way of formatting everything. It's very detailed. If you're reaching out to larger corporations where they might have to send the package to higher management, and you might not be able to talk to those people, it's good that you're getting, all the information you can in one package, so they can read and hopefully don't have any questions after reading something like this. So I will go back to sharing the PowerPoint. Also, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I feel like I'm just rushing through this. So are there any questions about stage 1? Okay, I will move on. So in stage 2, we're going to be talking about research and relationship management tools. So there are certain things that you need. Are ultimately looking to reach students, because that's what your club, is reaching. It's reaching students. So things to look out for when reaching out to companies is making sure that their mission, values, and goals aligns with your mission, values, and goals. So it's a good conversation to have within your club to identify what the mission, values, and goals are, so that when you're researching, you can align them. Fiscal year end, I will go into that in a little bit more in depth. Companies that are booming in Ottawa. So if there are, a lot of tech companies that are moving to Ottawa, or there's a lot of new companies, it's good to reach out to those, because they're either going to be looking to market in the Ottawa area, but they also want to get their brand out there and build their brand. So looking for companies that are looking for more marketing is a good opportunity. Similar industries. So again, if you're a finance club, you might be looking at finance firms. If you're a club that focuses on law, then you're going to be, looking for law firms to sponsor you. And then also keeping an eye out for the types of relationships that they buy into. So some companies only sponsor charity-focused clubs. Some companies only sponsor sports-related organizations. So definitely keeping an eye out for that. Another resource is the Ottawa Book of Lists. So this is links. I'm not going to open it because the website is pretty slow. But it's a great resource if you're stuck on who to reach out for, because it's basically an 80-page long digital magazine that lists all the companies in Ottawa, and it organizes them by their industry. So it'll say top banks in Ottawa, list all of them, top catering companies in Ottawa, and it'll list them. So it's a great resource. You can Google Ottawa Book of Lists as well, and it'll come up. So when looking for the mission, values, and goals of a company, you would go to their annual report. Super easy to find if they're a public company. You would just search annual report of X company, it'll come up. So this was pulled directly from the TD Bank website, and you can see on their annual report it lists their READY commitment. So this would be their mission and values for the year that this annual report was posted. So they have goals of financial security, vibrant planet, connected communities, and better health. So an example of how this would translate back to sponsorship. So as you can see for Vibrant Planet, it says helping elevate the quality of our environment to ensure both people and economies can thrive. So this would be a potential sponsorship opportunity for a club who's hosting a sustainability-focused event. So if you're having an educational seminar about the environment, you might want TD to come and host that event, or if you have a tree planting event, they might be willing to sponsor it because not only is it going to help you and make your event better, but it's going to help them achieve their goal of educating people about the environment. So diving into fiscal year ends, this is what you'll be looking for. So in the same annual report as I talked about on the last slide, you'll find a bunch of financial statements. At the top of every financial statement, you'll see what's highlighted here for the years ended with the years. So you're looking for this date here, so it says October 31st. That's not the same for every company. Banks are typically October 31st, but most companies usually have a year end of December 30th or December 31st, and then their budget rolls over on January 1st. But in terms of banks, year end is October 31st. And the reason why this is important is because when their budget is beginning to end, they might have sponsorship money left over that they need to get rid of. So you could reach out to these companies towards October 31st to see if they have any money left over in their budget, or you can reach out to them on November 1st or around that time just before, because when their budget resets, then they have a fully replenished sponsorship budget. And so it's a good time to get a head start to be able to secure some sponsorship, especially when their budget renews. So looking at the fiscal year end will help you determine when's the best time to reach out to those companies. And then the last thing I wanted during your research is looking at the types of organizations that companies support. So this was pulled from Rogers' website, and it says that Rogers is committed to supporting communities across Canada. We support registered charities, nonprofit organizations that focus on youth educational activities and engage in sports. So what we can pull out of this paragraph is that Rogers sponsors charities, youth education, and sports and entertainment. So if your club doesn't align with that, there's really no point in reaching out to Rogers because it's highly unlikely that they'll sponsor you because they only focus on these three categories of organization. So during my time looking for sponsorship, there was 3 tools that I used that made my job a lot easier, and these are them. So there's Hunter, which is great for research, Airtable, which is great for data management, and then Streak, which is great for relationship management. So this seems like a lot on the screen, but let me break it down. So on the left, this is what Hunter looks like. And then on the right, that's what LinkedIn looks like. And the reason why I have both of these up on the screen is because I would use them at the same time. So in the domain search, you can put any company. So here I typed in TD, and it will spit out every person who works at TD and their email. And then on the LinkedIn side, what I would do is I would take the names that it spits out and look them up on LinkedIn to see what their position was, because you wouldn't want to reach out to a teller for sponsorship because they probably don't have that authority to make sponsorship deals. So you want to make sure that the person that you're contacting is working in HR recruiting, a recruiting specialist, community development, business development, Any role like that, because they're the ones that are recruiting, need access to students, or they're looking on gaining exposure in the community, or business development, they're looking to build relationships in the community. So Airtable was by far my favorite tool to use for sponsorship. I'm going to walk you through the template that I used and kind of how it helped me track everything. So when you sign up for Airtable, on the first page, you'll see on the left here this little box that says add a base. You click on that, start with the template, and then you can search for a template, search business development, and then you'll get these two options. The first one, business development, that's the one that you'll want to use. Then once you click on that, this is kind of a snapshot of what you get. So you get 4 tabs: opportunities, partners, contacts, and interactions. So on the interactions tab, you have the name, which is where you met them, how you met them, how you talked to them, the interaction itself, the partners, so that is the company that they work for, the date when the interaction happened, and then the type: in-person, phone, email. On the partners tab, this is the companies. So you have the partner name, so the companies, where their headquarters is located. This wasn't important for me, so I deleted this field. If it's important to you, then feel free to keep it. Employees, this could be important to keep if you want to gauge the size of the company. If you have a database of companies, and in the future you want to only reach out to smaller companies, then you could use that. Industries, the industry that they operate in, and then their website. Contacts would be the name of the specific person that you were in contact with at that company. So the name of the person, how you interacted with them, their personal email, personal phone number, and then the company that they work for. And the reason why it's highlighted in blue under interactions and companies is because it's linked to the other tabs as well, which is great. And finally, the opportunities tab, which is kind of overwhelming to look at first, but it breaks it down by the contact stage. So we have request, negotiation, approval, and executed. And so it's easy to move. Companies throughout the stages. So say you're in request stage, that would be if you just sent out an initial email, you might put them there. If you're in the approval stage, maybe you sent them a contract and they signed it, you're just waiting for the money to come in. So it's great to move it around. And I'll get more into depth about how to navigate the screen here. So what you would do is you would click on a cell, expand the record, and then you'll get this be the company, and then what you're partnering with them for. So if it's an event, then it would be maybe TD Bank 101 week, something like that. The partners, so this will be a drop down of all the companies that are on your partners tab, and you just select the company, partnership type, so that would be what you're selling to them. Could be an event, so this could say 101 week, and then the stage, so what stage are you in the process of talking to them. And last but not least, this is Streak. So Streak is great, especially if you have a shared inbox. It helps you organize emails through pipelines. So you can assign emails to different people. You can have a tab for new emails that came in, emails that have already been addressed. But the big part about Streak that I really like is you can see when people have opened your emails. You can see when they've looked at them. So it helps gauge whether or not they saw it and they didn't care, or if it's time to follow up. So that's a great tool as well. Do we have any questions about stage 2? Okay, yeah, so I'll read this question out just so everyone knows what we're talking about. I think the sponsorship packages are a great idea. Would you recommend something like that for a smaller club? I feel like we don't have a large enough following on our social media, and the packages can sound a little pretentious to ask for so much. Yeah, that's a great question. As a small club, I wouldn't necessarily put together a big sponsorship package with the name of all of your events. What I would do instead is have a custom sponsorship package. So reach out to your sponsors, start with a conversation, figure out what they're looking for in the partnership, kind of what they value, what kind of opportunities they're looking for, and then kind of draft something, I guess, tailored to exactly what they're looking for instead of, just a general generic sponsorship package, specifically for the person you talk to, if that makes sense. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so moving into stage 3, how you're actually going to go about and contact these companies. So I've organized it into 5 buckets. So the first, networking, emailing, cold calling, LinkedIn, and then walking in. Although walking in might not be as applicable right now. So networking, you don't necessarily need to be at a networking event to be networking. You can be at any event. You can just meet someone in the street and go up to them and talk to them. So a good way to approach that is step 1, approach the sponsor or potential sponsor professionally, introduce yourself, shake their hand, sorry. Step 2, start with small talk, focus on the conversation and getting to know them and their organization. So it's important to have the mindset going into it that you're making a friend. Don't focus so much on, the money or the partnership. Just, make a friend. Make it personal. That's what will make you stand out. They probably get a bunch of requests a year for sponsorship because usually it's one person in charge of sponsorship. Those are usually who are at events. So making it personal makes you stand out a lot more. Step 3 would be to introduce your organization and discuss your position in the organization. But again, don't focus too much on yourself. Focus more on them. People who go to these events love talking about themselves and their company. So making sure that you keep the focus on them will really set you apart as well. Step 4 is to introduce the event and initiative you're trying to pitch. Talk about how they would be an asset and then how they would benefit. So again, really putting the emphasis on them. You don't really want to say, hey, we need your money so that we can do X, Y, Z. It's more so, hey, you should, come to our event. It'll be a great opportunity for you to meet students. I know you're looking to hire analysts, and we're a finance firm or a finance club, and so we have a lot of students who are interested in those kind of jobs, something like that. So step 5 would be finishing the conversation by handing them a business card or offering to connect on LinkedIn, and then proposing a coffee meeting or a follow-up call. You never want to just leave a conversation with no them to yeah. And it's all about making a friend and building that relationship. Here's an example of an email that you could send to a company. So first, you're going to want to start by introducing yourself, who you represent, and kind of thinking back to that mission statement. In the second paragraph, you're going to talk about what you're selling, what you're offering, and then why they should see value in it. And then you're going to end it off with suggesting an opportunity for further discussion. So you're never going to want to start your first email by attaching a sponsorship package because it doesn't give them the opportunity to open up conversation. Again, you really want to focus on making a friend and less on the, hardcore professional, you want to be professional, but build a friend instead of making it all about money. And then lastly, have a professional signature, kind of explaining who you are, who you represent, additional information. Cold calling. So similar to networking, you're going to want to call them, introduce yourself, who you're calling on behalf of. Step 2, ask a question. So stalk them on LinkedIn, figure out where they graduated from, what program they graduated from, ask them questions, ask them if they enjoyed their time, if they're University of Ottawa alumni, did they like U Ottawa, what was their major, really just get to know them. Again, all about building friends, that friendship. Step 3, so introduce your organization, talk about its purpose. So again, thinking back to that mission statement, then ask if a potential partnership is of interest to the company. So when cold calling, it's kind of like a telemarketer situation, right? So you want to try and make it as personable as possible, because if it's a casual conversation, then they're less likely to hang up on you. So making it friendly, again, building relationships. And the other thing is, they might not be in a position to seek out partnerships. So if they're not interested, don't waste your time, don't waste their time. Ask them if a partnership is of interest. Step 4, talk about the reason for the call. So this would be, what ask them what their company is trying to accomplish, see how that can fit in with what you're doing. Tell them that you're all about connecting with students by means of X, Y, Z, and say, how can we help you? And then introduce the event and initiative that you're trying to pitch, and then talk about how, maybe what they do would benefit from a partnership with you. And finally, again, finish off the conversation by proposing a coffee meeting or a follow-up call, and then connect with them through LinkedIn or through email. LinkedIn message, very similar to email. The only difference here would be to make it more personal, and this is because you are on LinkedIn, so you have access to their LinkedIn profile. Click on their profile, and then see how you can connect that back to the pitch. So you see that they're working at TD Bank as a recruiter. It might be a great opportunity for them to meet graduating students at a graduating networking event, for example. Walk-in, which not all that relevant right now, but could come into play hopefully soon. So this is the best approach for local businesses or small organizations, because this even works for banks too, because you can walk in and talk to the branch manager. Not the best approach for large organizations. You can't necessarily walk into Deloitte and ask to speak to their business development manager. A lot harder to do, but you can definitely walk into a local business and ask to speak to the owner or the manager, etc. So the first step, again, would be to ask for the manager or owner of the organization, and then introduce yourself. Introduce your organization and talk about its purpose, again, thinking back to that mission statement. Then ask if a potential partnership is of interest to the company. Again, when you're in a position where you're just walking in and introducing yourself, you definitely don't want to be wasting anyone's time. And in email, they can choose to read it, they can choose to not read it, but when you're asking for their time, you don't want to waste it. So just making sure that, the conversation is going to be of interest to them. So then introduce the event and initiative that you're trying to pitch, and then focusing on how they would benefit rather than how you would benefit. And then step 4, inform them of the logistics regarding the event and the cost of what you're offering, what kind of sponsorship you're seeking, relevant. Personal experience around meeting with someone through walk-in, they want more information up front, where that isn't necessarily the case through email or through cold call, because there's often an opportunity to meet up after that, where if you're walking in, you're already meeting them, you're already having that initial conversation, so they'll often ask for more information at the first meeting. And then provide them a business card, offer to connect on LinkedIn, and then get access to contact information for follow-up details. So following up, you always want to follow up after any initial interaction. Doesn't matter how you initially talk to them, you always want to follow up. So there are 2 main ways, email or LinkedIn. First, you're going to want to thank them for taking the time to meet with you or reply to you. Provide a brief summary of what was discussed. And then provide any answers or questions to anything they asked for. So if you called them over the phone and they were like, yeah, just send us a sponsorship package, you'd be like, okay, great. So then you'll reply with a sponsorship package or any questions that they had. And then mention that you're looking forward to continuing the conversation or hearing back. Again, you want this to be a continuous conversation, so you're building the relationship for future years as well. As I mentioned previously, guide the conversation towards the company. You want to put emphasis on what they want. So in the second interaction, you're going to figure out what they want out of this partnership. Be prepared to be flexible, so you can create a custom package to fit exactly what they want. Don't fluff it up with stuff that they may not be interested in. And then provide all the logistics for the event or the initiative, and let them know what you will need from them moving forward. So if it's tell them that they'll have to get the banners made for a certain date. And then suggest that you will follow up with them about prices and quantities of in-kind sponsorship if that's relevant. Not all sponsorship needs to be monetary. Sometimes you might want coupons from them, or you want them to come and speak at an event. It doesn't always necessarily need to be money. And then after all that has been done, you're going to want to close the deal. So in terms of price and logistics, after terms, price and logistics have been discussed and agreed upon, you're going to want to draft a contract outlining all the terms, details, prices, and then make sure to include a clause that states what occurs in the event that one party doesn't hold up the deal. Remind the sponsor 1 month and 1 week before the event. That's if you have speakers coming to your event, or if you have companies coming to network. It's often the case that companies won't show up. So that's not your fault. It happens. But it's always good to remind them so they know it's coming up. And then once you agree on a price, send the company an invoice with the sponsorship dollar amount and outline what they have paid for. I'm not going to go into depth about drafting contracts or invoices. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me and I can give you examples and I can walk you through it. So maintaining sponsorships. So again, throughout this presentation, I talked about how you want to make friends, and that's going to help you maintain relationships so that they will continue to sponsor you in future years. So you want to leave a lasting impression to ensure that the first time they sponsor is not the last time they sponsor. So you're going to follow up after the commitment has been fulfilled and provide insight on how successful or valuable it was for the company and for you. So you can say, by providing, a representative to come and speak, we had a lot of satisfaction with our attendees and they learned X, Y, Z. So just making sure that the company knows that it was valuable for both parties. Send pictures, videos, or other promotional materials to the sponsor to show them how their sponsorship helped the event. They love seeing recap videos or photos so that they can physically see that their sponsorship was meaningful. Provide any metrics if you have it. So the number of people that attended the event, if you send out surveys, the results of those surveys, number of likes and shares on a post so that they can see value for what they paid for. And then if it's within your budget, mail them some thank you cards or purchase a small appreciation gift. So since everything is online now, it might be nice to send them like a $5 digital gift card or something. So that's everything. I can talk about a little bit how COVID kind of affects things. I don't know how much time I have. If you have any questions, start typing them and I'll just talk a little bit real quick. I've said a few times that sponsorship isn't necessarily about money. And so if you're struggling to find sponsors that are focused on money, then I would say for this year, build on relationships so that you can possibly get money in future years. Digital events right now are not hard on the wallet, so you might not need as much money as you would have in previous years. So really put emphasis on building those relationships for future years. But it's also the case that a lot of companies really need a marketing push right now, so they might be willing to put money into working with students just because it's cheap marketing for them. They might need to advertise that they're now available on Uber Eats. They might need to, let everyone know that they're open. So there are opportunities for that as well. So it's just really putting emphasis on making sure you know what the company wants and if they're open to a partnership this year. Making sure that you're catering to them should help you get sponsorship this year. So I'll answer this question. What exactly would be a good clause for if one end of the deal is not upheld? Would you delicately bring this up, or is it best to make a distinct and clear outline? Definitely best to make a clear outline. So you put it in. You can discuss it with the partner, or you can put it in the contract but read it. But you could just say, in the event that the deal isn't held up, we'll refund you, based on what wasn't held up. So if everything wasn't held up, then you can say, that you'll refund everything. But if it was like a portion, then you'll figure out how much that portion was worth based on what was discussed, and then refund them that much. You can, offer them free services if it wasn't held up. So if you promised that they would be speaking at an event and then they, you told them they couldn't speak at the event, then maybe you'll share some of their social media posts instead. It's really hard right now with local businesses since they're mostly closed due to COVID, and with bigger companies, they haven't replied yet. What should I do? You could send follow-ups, making sure you're following up after 2 weeks. Going on LinkedIn, trying to find another representative from the same company to talk to is a way of going about that as well. It's hard. A lot of companies are closed right now. I mean, it's not as bad as the first wave. A lot of companies did start opening up, but and the nice thing about digital as well is that you're not limited to companies in Ottawa, right? So you could be looking at companies in other cities as well. So it's just exploring your options. Reaching outside of maybe who you're used to reaching out to, and being creative in what you can offer. I hope that helped. Any other questions? Here's my contact information. Would you recommend creating a Gofundme? I honestly don't have any experience using Gofundme. I guess it's not really related to sponsorship, just because you're not reaching out to companies specifically. It would just be more of like a fundraising initiative. If you're really struggling with sponsorship and you're having a really hard time funding some of your events, then that might be a last resort, definitely. But another thing to consider as well is that your events aren't as expensive this year, so your expenses shouldn't be that big. So if you can't find monetary sponsorship, then considering building relationships. I know last year we had one sponsor who couldn't do monetary sponsorship, and so instead we partnered with them, and they leveraged their network to find a sponsorship instead of sponsoring us directly. We had access to the companies that they knew. So leveraging other people's networks as well is a great way to partner with them.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for presenting today and for being here with us. So we're just gonna close the breakout room, so feel free to message Lauren if you have any more questions. And so our next workshop will be starting shortly.
Thank you.